Michael Saylor had to hold this Bitcoin on his balance sheet for years because it went down to under 17,000. He had to hold it there. Anything that he bought that was at the lowest cost of where lowest price that it went. Another thing that has not been a real focus of Bitcoiners, but it's a big deal because this will enable banks to start operating in this space, offering products that are not currently offered for their customers. So you could buy Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever right alongside your other holdings in your bank. You can hold it there, and they can soon start building and offering products around that, whether it's lending products, whether it's insurance products or borrowing. There are going to be some things that they can do that they're currently not doing. That'll be easy for everyday customers to use that they currently can't. And the banks they've just been too cautious to get into it because of that one kind of not ruling, but bulletin. What's really important about this administration is that the prior administration was antagonistic to our industry. I mean, they were fighting us in every corner. You had Choke Point 2.0, you had SAB 121 that was repealed, then that was vetoed. You had Senator Warren's anti-crypto army. It was just, there was a lot of pushback and noise and friction for any of us operating in this space, and it was a very difficult time. So now this administration is the exact opposite. They're embracing it. You may have heard Trump in Davos today said that he intends to make America the leader in the crypto space. And so that's incredibly important. Something you just mentioned, and it's really important, is that we're talking about getting regulation. We want regulation. We want to have an idea of exactly how we should be operating in the space. We're not asking to be unregulated. We're asking for clarity, and we're going to get that now, and we're going to get it without, forceful pushback and antagonistic behavior. What's important about Senator Lummis being involved in all of this and being put on that committee is that she's been spearheading this for over a year and a half now. And so she introduced the bill, the Bitcoin Reserve Act. And so it still needs a co-sponsor. It's very early in its drafting because of that. And there could be changes to what the current, thought about it is. But with this new administration in office, there's a likelihood now that this gets done in due time. How quickly it happens, it's hard to say. There are a number of things that Trump could do, and there are a number of things that Congress could do. But it would have to go through a legislative gauntlet. And if it's going to happen the way that Senator Lummis wants it to happen. And so that would mean it would have to go to committees, it would have to be revised, it would have to be approved. And so that it would take some time to do it that way. There's another way that Trump can do it, and he could use something called the Exchange Stabilization Act to just through executive order and add Bitcoin to the balance sheet that way. Now, that would be something that would happen pretty quickly, and but it would be a smaller version of the Bitcoin Reserve, right? So if they stay the course and they go for the Bitcoin Reserve, then we're talking about the U.S. government buying 1 million Bitcoin over the course of 5 years, 200,000 Bitcoin per year for 5 years, which would be 5% of the total supply, which actually would be it would be more than 5% of the liquid supply because there are millions of coins likely have been lost. So this would be a very big deal. Now, what would happen would be that it would have to be passed that way, and then the government could go buy the Bitcoin after that. So what do you think would happen if the United States government passes this? They say they're going to buy 1 million Bitcoin. Yeah. What do you think all the other governments and individuals in this world are going to do? Yeah. Obviously, they're going to go try to front run the government and buy it before them. There are a lot of things that are tailwinds. There's some
Yeah.
developments that have happened that are tailwinds for Bitcoin, and these are some of them we've discussed. SAB 121 repeal finally being repealed. That's a big deal.
Hmm.
A Bitcoin Reserve Act, even bigger deal. But before that, there have been a few tailwinds that we haven't discussed. One of them is the new gap accounting. The new gap accounting, which was passed back in 2022, but it just went into effect this past December, was how you hold Bitcoin if you're a company, how you hold it on your balance sheet, in your treasury, and where you market at. Prior to this new gap accounting, you would have to hold this asset. If you bought Bitcoin and it went down, you had to hold it at the lower of your cost or the lowest price that it went to. So you could see is if you go back at Microsoft at MicroStrategy's balance sheet, you can see how Michael Saylor had to hold this Bitcoin on his balance sheet for years because it went down to under 17,000. He had to hold it there. Anything that he bought that was at the lowest cost of where lowest price that it went, and it was called an impaired asset. Now this new accounting is you can buy Bitcoin and hold it on your balance sheet at fair market value, which is normal for an asset. So
Hmm.
that's a really big deal. And the only way you could get it off your balance sheet at an impaired value before was to sell it, and then you'd have to take the tax consequences of it. Even if it went all the way back above where you bought it, you still had to hold it at that impaired cost.